What's up, solutionaries? Welcome to the Maj 2 Ray Show. We are live. Welcome, y'all. First show, 2026. We're going to get right into the street shit because that's what's happening. A whole lot of international gang shit. Y'all know the routine. Come in, comment, tell me where y'all from, what city you are watching from. If you're watching on X, make sure you hit the repost button. Don't cost you nothing. If you're watching on any other platform, copy the link. Share it all over the place. Share the space all over the place. And again, let me know where you guys are calling from. If you are not aware, I am Maj Toure, the founder of BGM, Black Guns Matter, as well as the Solutionary Lifestyle. For the last 9 years, going on 10 years, we have traveled around the country informing people about their natural rights, about personal protection, about civics, about health and fitness. Well, we focusing more on health and fitness as we traveled around and saw how many people were actually unhealthy. And we've created a program called the Solutionary 9 for anybody. You can get on that wait list because we closed it up for everybody that wasn't in the group already, but you can get on that wait list and we're reopening everything at February the 1st. What's up, Quentin? How are you? Tuning in from St. Louis. Appreciate you, brother. There's a few more of y'all tapping in. Let me know what platform you're watching on. Comment, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Comment what city you're from. As well as, guys, we try to do this every week, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. And again, this is the first show of the year 2026. You guys see it. Y'all know the title. We're going to talk about the truth about the Maduro kidnapping and the oil seizing that just happened last week. And it's got mixed emotions. What's up, Pest? What's that? Pressed Rev. What's up over there in Brooklyn? Big Rob. What's up over in Jersey? Johnny Dogworth over there in. Yeah, I'm down. Oh, that's my man Reese. Yeah, hell yeah, Reese. For those of y'all that don't know, Reese, and y'all can Reese has been instrumental in getting me a lot of interviews. I want to make sure that you guys are linked up with him if you want to do some press and some media. That's my go-to person. Yes, I am down for that I Never Knew TV. If you guys are not familiar with I Never Knew TV, I Never Knew with some good brothers over there in Jersey. I do want to have this conversation with them about this because they have a bigger channel and a bigger platform than I do right now. I would love to have this conversation about Venezuela. So this tonight actually will be some good practice for getting over there to the I Never Knew TV studio and getting busy over there. Guys, gangster shit happened. I just want y'all to understand that it's not gangster shit. It is gangster shit. I just want y'all to understand that this is the pros and cons of what happened right now. And tonight we're going to go over a few things. And y'all might think as I name these things right now, you might think that these things are not connected, but they 1000% are. Tonight we're going to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, But if you do know what the Monroe Doctrine is or was, don't Google it. Don't chat GBT it. Just communicate. If you know what it is, just comment in the section. I know what the Monroe Doctrine is. If you know what the why we got off the gold standard in 1971, Richard Nixon took us off of that. If you want to know what happened last year with the unofficial Saudis saying we're not going to re-up on that contract as far as the petrodollar, all of that is going to be a good conversation tonight because I'm just tired of people pretending like the United States government just started doing this type of stuff, because we have not. B, other countries have not done taking people and kidnapping them shit and interfering with elections, and we're not going to act like that's not been the case. Coups and overthrowing of governments, and all of this is connected. Now, my point in tonight's show, we are communicating tonight's show from the perspective of I want you all to have a bevy of information. And from that bevy of information, logically and factually, you should land where you land. Not based on everything that the United States government does is evil and only works for three very, very powerful people. Nor do I want you to have this belief that, which is even more damaging, this belief that everything that they telling you on the media is the thing to be paying attention to, and that's the reason why they're doing this. All right. So I made a post a few days ago. I want to read that real quick, and I got a bunch of articles linked up. Guys, also, please, that like button is free. Smash the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. You will get a lot of information and value out of tonight's content. My job as a solutionary is to inform you guys with the information, tell you where I morally and legally stand on things, what my perspective is based on information, so we can apply those solutions and information to our everyday life as solutionaries. Okay? Wow, what's up, brother? Yes, they are. Pressed Rev. It says they're trying to split the world into 3 spheres. Now, that conversation has been happening forever. The Amero, the Euro, and the Afro. Since the 90s, that has been the conversation. All right? But we can get into that tonight, too, as well. I want to read what's on the screen real quick. This is what I posted about the United States government's actions in Venezuela a couple days ago. On the United States government's actions in Venezuela, it's what happens when you're an empire. In no way should you be naive to that. You can and should call the contradiction, though. A few contradictions. 1, there is no constitutional provision authorizing presidents to invade other countries and take its leader. I want to be very clear. Maduro was kidnapped. I do not care what you want to call it something else. They charged him with drug trafficking crimes in America. Last month, President Trump pardoned a drug trafficker from, I want to say maybe Honduras. I can't remember the exact country. I'm not making this up. The whole "we got you for guns and drugs" thing is cap. And even if it was an international policy, it is frowned upon. If that was the case, it would just always be, we don't like what some country did. We could just say they did X, Y, and Z, kidnap them and bring them back to our country and say they got to stand trial for their crimes. Okay? There is no constitutional provision authorizing presidents to invade other countries and take its leader. If that was the case, Putin would have been snatched. What's his name? From, I forget his name. He ain't been in the news as much. The president of Ukraine, Zelensky. Putin would have been snatched Zelensky for all of that. Okay? Now, I also want to say this about international law. It's almost, this is where people make sense when they say really, really rich, wealthy, and powerful people don't care about the rules or international law, right? They say that because they're only concerned about sanctioned and attacks, but not really, you know what I mean? This is almost like suggestions that everybody accepts. If there was actually going to be repercussions for kidnapping a sitting head of state, regardless of if you think Maduro was there voted in or not and all of that, and coups, and that's a whole different conversation. With that being the case, if this was just about we get to do it, you do get to do it if you have enough power and a big enough army, and enough guns and tanks and Black Hawks and F-16s and so forth and so on. Okay? But there is no constitutional provision in America that authorizes you to go invade other countries and take its leader. If this was the case, there will be no reason for the United Nations. All right? Next, government lying that this was about saving Americans from fentanyl. I'm pretty sure everybody got the scoop on that. Just like everybody at this point knows that if America, the American government, is involved in any type of so-called conflict or humanitarian effort, it is for a natural resource. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that in Venezuela it's about the oil. It's also about the gold, but very few people are having a discussion about the gold. That's where the really, really trillionaires and things like that start to have that conversation. All right? Everybody on the layman's side of it knows that it's about oil, but they may not be connecting the dots, right? But the government lying and saying it's about oh, it's fentanyl. And then right after everybody said, it was like, no, that's bullshit. That's not where most of the fentanyl in America comes from. Obviously, it's Mexico, as far as it relates, close in close proximity. And the chemicals that are manufactured to make Fetty, they are primarily made and shipped into America by China. But we don't want beef with Mexico or China. For political reasons, for trade reasons, and there's 1 billion people in China. And they make a lot of your stuff. So we're going to turn the other blind eye to that. In Mexico, they warriors and they got guns because of the vast resources of the cartel. They have no problem murdering sitting presidents and heads of state. They killed one of the heads of state like last week in Mexico. So they're going to turn a blind eye to China, where the ingredients to make fentanyl are mostly manufactured and shipped into America, and they're going to ignore Mexico. They're going to say it's Venezuela. Everybody worth their salt knew it wasn't Venezuela. Everybody knows that, okay? Next, you got to miss me with the we saving Venezuelans from big bad Maduro shit. The United States government, since time immemorial, let's go back at least to the 60s, has participated in coups that have removed heads of state and inserted their number two that was CIA sponsored. They make television shows about this shit now. Like interesting dramas. In no way, shape, or form is this new information. So the whole, like, if you still believe that the government said Maduro's a bad guy, Saddam Hussein was installed. And then when he outlived his usefulness, they killed him. Okay? We're going to get into that too, Big Rob. The conversation around how many countries are left that do not have centralized banks. IMF, World Banks, Rothschild, Bilderberg banks, right? That type of energy. North Korea, China, in the last, since 2009, like North Korea, everybody in America wants to go to Syria, Yemen, North Korea, Iraq, Iran, Venezuela. These are that. When you start to look at these wars and governments as frontmen for international banking moves, then you'll see the picture a lot clearer. All right. But for tonight's conversation, we can go into that a little bit. But for tonight's conversation, we're going to go over the history of why this street shit that's happening, known as us taking your fucking oil, why you may not totally disagree with that. And I know some of y'all that are righteous going to be like, I don't agree with that. That's a violation of theft. And I'm with you on a moral tip. But tonight we're going to talk about the economic and political ramifications and some actual facts historically that after we talk about it, you might be like, I understand. Everybody hit the like button, smash that. So again, you gotta miss me with this. We saving Venezuelans from Maduro shit. Also, the Venezuelans are celebrating, so we're helping videos. The vast majority of those that y'all seen on social media are fake. Even on X, where all of the big conservative people are saying, yeah, look at the people of Venezuela, they're cheering. Even on X, some of Elon's posts have been fact-checked. Community notes are under there saying, this video is actually from this country and this year. It's fake. They did this, or some of them are real. What happens in a coup, and the CIA has done this for a very long time, they'll pay people to celebrate in the street and act, people that might just dislike Maduro or dislike Gaddafi. This was a perfect example of this when Gaddafi was killed. Do you know why Gaddafi was killed? Because he was doing what BRICS was doing before BRICS was doing it. Brasilia, Russia, India, China, South Africa, BRICS, those countries that are operating with each other outside of the US dollar, because after the world wars, the United States dollar became the world's global reserve currency. That is financial dominance. And then when you tie that into, we talk about all of this tonight, when you tie that into the Nixon taking the dollar off the gold standard and setting up that petrol deal with Saudi Arabia, where tons of the oil was coming from, so you could pretty much just keep printing money and you'll get some inflation, and we are getting inflation. However, all of the other currencies are still going to have to, even if they're getting most of their oil from Saudi Arabia, they're still going to be tied to the US dollar. But we're going to go into that in depth tonight. So when Gaddafi got killed, when Hillary Clinton literally got on television after the Obama administration killed Gaddafi because Gaddafi wanted to do business with all African nations, work together and using their own currency and or natural resources, minerals, to do business with each other. That would have been an affront to the Federal Reserve, global banking cartels, the Fed in America. So when you look at governments as frontmen for bankers, then you see that play out. If Gaddafi's the person saying, we don't need a centralized money supply, African nations can do business with each other, that's bad business for the banking cartels. iShowSpeed is in, I think, Botswana right now. And there's a clip circulating through the internet right now of iShowSpeed. They showing him raw diamonds in this African nation. And he wants to buy a raw diamond. He's like, well, I just want to buy it right now. And the brother that was there says, we can't sell this to you because our contract says we can only sell raw diamonds to 2 companies. Botswana is one of the most diamond-rich nations in the world. In the world. Okay? But they couldn't sell 1 diamond to iShow Speed there because they are locked into contracts with the De Beers Group and the French and all of that. So this African nation has this powerful resource that they're locked into contracts with the French or other European nations and companies that they can't even get the money to you understand? There's a monopoly there. My point in saying that is, if Gaddafi knew that and said, we're going to do all of these different things and do business with each other, we're not so dependent on the United States dollar. We can do business ourselves. Literally, Hillary Clinton, I've told the story a bunch of times across the channel. Hillary Clinton got on television after they sent a small kill team and they killed him in his country, in Libya. They pretended he was a horrible dictator. They pretended that he was so destructive. Then they got cameras and they made people act like they were celebrating in the streets to make it look right. See, we're liberating these people. We care about these people. That's not what happened. He was a threat to the banking cartels, i.e. the shadow government behind actual governments. And what did Hillary Clinton do? After it was killed, it was on ABC primetime television. Y'all Google it if you think I'm lying. She on daytime, well, it was in the evening, but broadcast channel television, laughed and said, we came, we saw, he died, and laughed. I lied to you not. That happened. So they pretended it was about liberating the people of of Libya. Libya is now, since then, again, this is the Obama, 2012, around that era. Since then, Libya has had one dictator or warlord after another since. See, these American and European nations destabilize a place. When they feel like they can't control the resources, they either try to buy off the person in charge and let them live a life of luxury while they drain the resources. Or if that person doesn't want to play ball, they try to kill him. This is not new. This is why I'm like so surprised that Ibrahim Traore, or however you say his last name, over in Burkina Faso has not been killed. He's already had attempts on his life. But he told the French, you got to get the fuck out of here. We seizing our own gold mines. And they've gotten into a surplus in less than a year or two based on the gold that they have of their own. So when you come to the Maj 2 ratio, my job is to give you the information to make you package all these things together. Libya's a shithole. When Libya was not, Minister Farrakhan talked about Libya and Gaddafi when he was alive. He said, I was over there. Did you know that if you wanted to learn and go to college in Libya, you could go for free? Did you know that this? Did you know that this? Did you know that this? Gaddafi tried to give Minister Farrakhan $1 billion years ago. See, I'm young, y'all think, but I'm 78 years old for real. Okay? Gaddafi wanted to give Minister Farrakhan $1 billion in the late 90s, early 2000s. The United States government said the deal couldn't go through. It's not me. Google everything that I'm saying. So if it was about helping people, because Gaddafi wanted to say, look, there's an infrastructure. We need to build a bridge between, not a physical bridge, but a bridge between African Americans and Africans on the continent, especially Libyans in the country of Libya. He wanted to give Minister Farrakhan $1 billion to work with that infrastructure and building that, metaphoric bridge. The United States government said no. That's like when Chris Paul wanted to get traded. They got traded Chris Paul to the Lakers, and the NBA got in the middle of when Kobe was there. Height of Kobe, it would have been a whole different game. The NBA, the league got in and said, no, you can't do the trade. I'm not making any of this up. So Libya looks like trash right now, but yet and still the United States government said they were there to liberate the people of Libya from this horrible dictator known as Gaddafi, and his crime was saying no thank you to the centralized banking system. We as Africans are going to work with each other and control the resources and share with those resources. The name of tonight's show is The Street Politics. This is all street shit. You'll have a better understanding of it if you dealt in any type of, if you sold weed, coke, soft, hard, dog food, fatty, I don't care. If you sold something outside, you have a better understanding of geopolitics than you may think. So, how's Libya looking now? It's a fucking shithole. Or Yemen, or Iraq, or Afghanistan, or Syria. We was in Afghanistan for the opium and the poppy fields. We was there for defending certain oil and pipelines. Obviously, Iraq. Yemen. These are mineral-rich places. Venezuela has a shit ton of gold. They're just not talking about it. Gold is spoken of in hushed tones because gold is what everybody in world history since Earth is always going to try to hedge their money up against. That's why the price of gold is up right now, gold and silver. Because as this transition into the fully digital crypto, maybe Bitcoin, but not really, situation happens and regulation comes into that, rich people start getting back in gold. And so the media is not going to talk about the gold-rich nation that Venezuela is. Of course they're going to talk about the oil reserves because the oil reserves have to be, there needs to be an infrastructure built around that. Okay? Speaking of which, let's read this real quick. Government. It's Trump. Let's read this. Trump suggests, shouts to Jason Basler. If you guys don't know, Jason has a Know Your Rights class. Jason Basler is the founder of the Free Thought Project. If you haven't seen any of the Free Thought Project stuff, a lot of good, liberating, freedom-based information. All right? Jason has a class. He's one of your instructors over at Solutionary University. After tonight's show, shoot me a DM if you want the direct link to take his class. All right? These are your classes. They're online. You take them at your leisure. All of it's there. Jason Basler is talking about Trump suggesting that U.S. taxpayers could reimburse oil firms for Venezuela investment. This is street shit, and I want to tell y'all based on a movie, and I'll come back to Jason's post. In The Godfather 2, remember when they went to Cuba and Hyman Roth was there and telling all of the people, was like, look, we got our friends in such and such. They're going to help us with this. We got the Domino Sugarcane Company. We got such and such here. We got this person here. We got this person. If you want the link, if you on YouTube, the link to the Know Your Rights course with Jason Basler is in the link. It's on the screen right now. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously I want you to repost and share and hit the like button. But if you're watching on YouTube, in the comment section, you can hit that link and sign up for Jason's Know Your Right course. In the movie, when Hyman Roth had brought Michael Corleone, and who was obviously the head of the 5 crime families, the mafia, and corporate interest, Bell Atlantic, and this, that, and the third, all of that, right? They were divvying up what they thought Cuba was going to be. But Michael was like, I'm seeing revolution and all of this, and one dude blew himself up. And so Michael Corleone pulled out. And the deal didn't really go through. But what you're watching right now with what Trump is saying and what just happened, on one level, now it's open playing field for all of the corporate interests. Now, a lot of these corporate interests supported his campaign. So he's making do. This is my man's got me in. Now he could get in. If my man's opened a gym and I helped him get in shape, best believe I'm not paying to pay for a membership. My man gonna go, Maj help me out. He got a free membership. This is one hand washing the other. This is the understanding of politics. By definition, there's 2 definitions of politics that I want y'all to understand what they are. 1, the securing, maintaining, and expansion of your interests. That is what one of the definitions of politics. The securing, maintaining, and expansion of your own interests. If Trump has gotten $240 million raised in 2024 for his campaign, and the vast majority of that came from corporate interests that jobs and infrastructure can be built around, he's going to try to make do on that $250 million investment in him. And that is corporate interests. That is not you, the American people, per se. There may be some so-called trickle down in jobs created in this and that. And again, we'll go into that tonight. But here he's suggesting that U.S. taxpayers could reimburse oil firms for Venezuela's investment. Venezuela has big oil reserves. To get the oil and make it sellable, and I also want to be very clear, This is not top grade oil. This is like in the weed language, they got a lot of Reggie. It's regular ass weed. It's Reggie. But it's a shit ton of it. And we can make money off of it. Everybody don't need to smoke Jamaican. Okay? But you got to build an infrastructure around a reserve system. This is where the oil firms come in. And then those corporations, he says this, those corporations start lining up to get busy and build an infrastructure in Venezuela. And then what does the United States government do? They tax those companies over time. Okay? This is the definition of politics. One hand wash the other, both hands get together and wash the face. But U.S. tax dollars is going to reimburse those firms. So basically, if this goes this way, now we got the infrastructure, jobs are created, taxes is made off of them companies. We get some of those Americans to go take some of those jobs in Venezuela, like longshoremen do, those guys that work on oil rigs, kind of right off the coast, right? But U.S. tax dollars are going to reimburse them. So over time, the profit that those corporations get is damn near free money over time if they make the initial investment. Okay? So when you're thinking this about not spending and this, that, and the third, you got to look at this game from that perspective. The second definition of politics is how the world's resources are moved. Okay? How the world's resources are moved. That is another definition of politics. One, the securing, maintaining, and expansion of your interests. And two, how the world's resources are moved. If you look at the world politic, geopolitics, hood politics, state politics, local politics, through that lens and those definitions, if you understand that and you hear somebody say, oh, I ain't that interested in politics, that tells you that that's a poor person, poor-minded, and can potentially consistently be financially poor, because politics is not under the monopoly of just the so-called people in DC. You should be exercising politics every single day, the securing, maintenance, and expansion of your interest, because that's how the world's resources are going to come to you or go away from you. That's how the world's resources are moved. All right, let's move forward a little bit. Like I said, how's Libya looking now? Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. Anyway, it's never about liberation or helping the people of whatever nation. Those nations are worse off than before we liberated them. It's always about natural resources, central banking, and positioning. America is the empire, and taking shit is what gangsters do. Now, let me pause right there. I want y'all to be very clear. I am okay with taking people's shit. Let me tell you what I mean by that. If you harm me, I'm taking your shit. If you come rob me somehow, and I know it's you, and I can get you, I'm going to get what you got from me, and I'm going to get some more back from you. Morally, that's the only way that I see that that's okay, unless we are in the zombie apocalypse. All of you people that stockpiling a bunch of resources and letting everybody know that you like got a bug in house and you prep and you ain't got no guns, oh, we love that. I ain't even got to stash nothing. You did it for me. You saved all of the resources for me and my guys. We thank you in the zombie apocalypse. Okay? I want to be very clear. In the zombie apocalypse, economic crashes, natural disasters, there's a few things that do not exist. Dietary restrictions and most people's morals. Okay? So if you're not prepped for all of that, that's what happens when the ribs is touching and the teeth start showing. Okay? It is always about natural resources, central banking, and positioning. America is the empire, and taking shit is what gangsters do. Why am I saying taking shit? Because the oil reserves do belong to Venezuela. Now, some of you guys are going to go, how is this connected, Maj? How is this connected? I want to show y'all something. This is why this is connected, and this is why the current administration is so gung-ho on making this happen? How many people in here know what the Monroe Doctrine is? Just give me a yes or no in the comment section. And make sure you smash the like button as well. If you're watching on X, we've only had one person to repost the show from X. If you're watching on X right now, and there's a few of you watching on X, if you're watching on X right now, smash the repost button. Okay? Let me say this to y'all. The Monroe Doctrine, which was some old school shit, but it made sense. I'm going to read this real quick. The Monroe Doctrine, declared by President James Monroe in 1823, was a U.S. policy warning European powers against further colonization or interference in the Western Hemisphere, asserting the Americas were closed to new European control and that the U.S. wouldn't meddle in European affairs. Its key principles were non-colonization, non-intervention by Europe in the Americas, and U.S. non-interference in Europe, establishing the hemisphere as a U.S. sphere of influence and becoming a cornerstone of American foreign policy, later expanded to justify U.S. intervention in Latin America. Let me say this. This is the most gangster shit you ever heard of in your life. We America, Canada's bitch asses, they soft as hell. Mexico at that time was way weaker than they are right now. So basically all of it's all America. Canada, Mexico, and South America. And it's like, we were like, we not going to let European nations come over here because Europeans had colonies. America was a British colony until George and the boys shot the redcoats, right? Created the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, all of that, right? So the Monroe Doctrine drops and they like, look, this whole side of the earth is ours now. Don't come over here trying to run shit. Because a lot of European nations had colonies. Looking at you, Portugal. Looking at you, Spain. Right? Even Russia. Because don't forget, guys, the globe is like this. You think, especially if you live on the East Coast, you think about Russia as all the way over there. But if you lived on the West Coast or Alaska, you could damn near see Russia. So Russia is like, oh, we could just go this way and like have resources and have relationships with Southern America. So those European nations that are used to having colonies there, the Monroe Doctrine was like, fuck that. This is our block now. This whole Western Hemisphere is basically America, the West, right? That's what the Monroe Doctrine was. Now, the contradiction is America over time, while trying to defend the Monroe Doctrine, at the same time said, we still going to interfere, and obviously they was interfering in Latin nations and their reasoning for doing so, right? The Bay of Pigs, right? What's the name? Overthrew Batista. What's his name? I forget his name. Oh, Guevara, Che Guevara, right? Che Guevara and those guys overthrow Batista with Fidel Castro, and they point nukes at the United States because the United States wanted a missile base on Cuba. Cuba's a half hour outside of Miami. Strategic positioning, we America, you a small island, do what we say. Castro and them was like, no, thank you. They tried to assassinate Castro over 90 times until he died of natural causes. Okay? They put an embargo on Cuba, which is why you can't lawfully get Cubans into America from Cuba. The reason why Cuban cigars are expensive is because you got to get them from Europe. So that means they got to get rolled in the ones that are Cuban, and because that's capped too. Because when the Bay of Pigs happened, a lot of the master growers and rollers, they moved to Honduras, they moved to Nicaragua. That's why so many great cigars are Hondurans. You know, pardon me on nerding out, y'all. I read a lot of shit, okay? Point being, during that Bay of Pigs, the United States put a trade embargo on Cuba. Oh, they're a communist country. They said they were evil, all because they was like, we don't want a military base on our country. That's all. But because the Monroe Doctrine, the American government is like, it's our shit. Even though America has meddled and interfered in European issues for some time. So this move with Venezuela is tying everything back into trying to reestablish the Monroe Doctrine. because the United States government did help secure the reserves and help some slight infrastructure of those reserves in Venezuela. The same as they did with the Panama Canal. Because we've heard people in this administration a while back saying, we should take the Panama Canal. We should take the Gulf of Mexico and call it the Gulf of America. You've heard all of this conversation since Trump got in office last November, well, January, right? Last year. Okay? Gulf of America. We're going to take the Panama Canal. We took Venezuela's, their oil reserves and kidnapped their president and the first lady. This is all street shit. This is to make sure that the United States establishes gold, oil, and energy dominance in this hemisphere. Because if you keep letting Venezuela sell oil to China, which they are, and China is paying them in yen, not the United States dollar, this is a slick way of, in free trade, the United States dollar being undermined and China having influence in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? Now, to Albie Fresh's point here, which you just kind of like said what I'm saying, United States is now saying you shouldn't be interfering in our spots over here on this hemisphere, i.e. Monroe Doctrine style. But yet and still, America will still, well, China goes, all right, well, cool. Taiwan is us then. But then America will try to make the moral argument that, no, China, you got to leave Taiwan alone. Who the fuck are you to tell us what to do with Taiwan? They are part of us. We ain't telling you what to do with South America, Mexico, Central America, yada, 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 yada. So there's going to be a moral conundrum for America. I'm a non-interventionist. If you don't fuck with us, we don't fuck with you unless we doing trade. That's actually when America was at its strongest. I say this all the time. When America's international policy was to not have an international policy other than free trade, when Pittsburgh was making 30% of the world's steel, that's when America was actually solid. When America made shit. Then NAFTA trade agreements, Ronald Reagan, all of that, outsourcing of all of this stuff to other countries. Now you don't manufacture anything. You made China a world power because of greed and overnight reasoning and not that same America first grit mentality. It's what happened. It's what happened. So, when we're talking about places like the Panama Canal, where people are talking about we should take that back, sometimes people don't have an understanding of historically what happened that gives the United States government a little bit of a leg to stand on to say, this is the reason why we should take the Panama Canal. Now, I'm going to connect all of this for y'all. Let's read the Panama Canal. The United States built the Panama Canal, taking over the project from the French in 1904 and completing it in 1914. Something interesting happened in 1913. Bonus points to whoever can tell me what happened in American history that changed the course of finances forever in the year 1913. Type it in the comment section. But anyway, they completed it in 1914, establishing U.S. control over the canal zone with Panamanian consent after Panama's independence from Colombia and eventually transferring full control to Panama in 1919. Mike has bad knees and Aaron, y'all both are right. Wild Self, correct. 1913 and 1914. 1913, the Federal Reserve showed up. 1914, the IRS came through with income tax. There was no income tax before 1914. It didn't exist. They tried it before. They tried it way back during Lincoln times, and they was like, Congress was like, fuck no. Why? So that's 1913 and 1914. 1914, Panama Canal is finished, and the U.S. involvement under President Theodore Roosevelt supported it, and they gave that back to Panama in 1999. Let's read some more. The treaty, the High Buena Varilla Treaty of 1903, granted the U.S. rights to the canal zone, and construction opened in 1904. The U.S. managed the canal until the Torrijos-Carter Treaty, signed in 1977, initiated the handover with full control transferred in Panama in 1999. Now, why does this matter? Why does this matter? Because asymmetric warfare is more about control, zones, blocks, and access. If I control the canals, I control the straits, I control the largest oil reserves in the world, which is Venezuela. I block out China. It's like putting a big business only with America sign all over the Western Hemisphere. That is gangster shit. Gangster shit doesn't have to just negatively be negative. Gangster shit is going, this mine because this is what we doing. There could be conversation about the moral disagreements with it. The Panama Canal conversation, I think, is a non-starter because you literally gave control of that back to Panama in the year 1999. You did that. There's a treaty, it exists. So saying we should re-seize control because we helped it. We helped build it. Yeah, but you had terms and agreements up until 1999. Similar to the Venezuela conversation. Oh, well, we helped y'all build it. Yeah, but it's ours. You helped us. If I come to your house and help you build the garage, it's not my fucking garage because I bought the hammers. I helped you though. All right, thank you. I paid you and I gave you beer. Get the fuck out. So this is a part of the conversation that you hear Andrew Tate saying shit like, just take their shit, bruv. Mind you, Andrew Tate just got his ass whipped by somebody 2 weeks ago. And he's not going to be involved in the bot. Because this isn't like we just say something and nobody dies. If you get boots on the ground, some of those American boots on the ground are going to get their boots smoked. But it's easy for people to say, just go over there, take everybody's shit as if there will not be casualties of a war. That's what I hate about influencers that's not going to tell y'all the bigger picture of this situation so you can come to a logical conclusion. After tonight's show, you might land on a space where you say, I'm okay with expanding the empire. You can say that. You might say that. You might go, all right, I have enough information, Monroe Doctrine. We might just seem to get away from it. You might say, for us to be morally righteous on the Monroe Doctrine, especially because we got the most guns, the most resources, the most whatever, we also, to be morally righteous, we can't be interfering in other countries as well. I said this in a tweet this morning. Ironically, this intervention in Venezuela may set America up in a space where we can go back to a non-interventionist policy. It could be that. Could be. But leave it to government to fuck up a cup of coffee. Okay? Saying this to say, exactly, Mike has bad knees. Andrew Tate isn't American. His opinion is irrelevant. And when I hear people saying this, I'm like, yo, you just playing willy-nilly with American lives. The people of these countries are not just going to be like, well, America's here. We just got to just do what they say. That's not going to be the case. Some young American soldiers are going to get their top blown off. War is young men being sent to die for old men's resources. War is young men being sent to die for old men's resources. Okay? Saying this to say, this is the story that's presented and prevalent. And this is 1000% gangster shit. There's no way to like sugarcoat this. Updates. This is Al Jazeera. Y'all know I try to pull from different sources. This particular article is from Al Jazeera. Updates. White House says Venezuelan decisions will be dictated by U.S. What? Your decisions for your country will be dictated by us. There is no... That's a scene from fucking Harlem Nights. That's when they invite Quick and Sugar, or Quick is out there with a girl, Dominique LaRue, and he think he's sitting down with a meeting with her, and it's a meeting with Bugsy Calhoun in his right hand and all of this. All right, you guys are doing some money. You going to come work for me, Quick. I like you, young bull. You going to come work for me, and we're going to take a cut out of your boss's pay. And in that movie, the small crew, Suge and Eddie Murphy. If you didn't watch Harlem Nights, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life. I don't know what you're doing with your life if you haven't watched Harlem Nights. You're losing at life. Okay? Sidebar. Let me know in the comment section if y'all think I should do movie reviews. Okay? Harlem Nights is a fucking classic. And all of the people from Harlem Nights that were legendary comics, all of them are dead except Eddie Murphy. Della Reese is gone. Red Fox is gone. Richard Pryor is gone. Just everybody. Classic. It's a perfect movie. Okay? Now, this is 1000% violence that happens in the life of Earth. Big bank take little bank. Big gun shoot the little gun. Right? This is gangster shit. All I'm telling y'all is don't fall for this like, oh, it's a humanitarian effort. The people of Venezuela really fuck with us. Don't fall for the like, oh, the people of Venezuela are so happy. That's all cap. This is about Western Hemisphere dominance and reestablishing America as the superpower. As BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America are doing business with each other, right? And as China and Russia are sneaking oil out of Venezuela and paying in Bitcoin, paying in yen, circumnavigating the actual US dollar at a time when the US dollar, since 1914, when the IRS income tax in 1913, when the Federal Reserve Bank was created, since then, 96% of the spending power of the dollar has decreased. Your dollar has lost 96% of its spending power since 1913. That's 125 years ago? In 125 years, the dollar has lost 96% of it. So with printing more money, because Nixon had this bright idea in 1971 of taking the US dollar off of the gold standard. Then they made gold ownership by Americans illegal for a time. They reneged on all of their debts in gold to all of the debtor nations. This happened. So now your dollar is not backed by anything. Then he goes into the petrodollar deal. Now Saudi, last year, unofficially has ended, because they're not saying it outright. Saudi Arabia has not formally ended the so-called petrodollar deal because a formal written agreement or treaty required it to exclusively sell oil in US dollars never existed. Instead, the petrodollar system was an informal, decades-long understanding that emerged after a 1974 agreement on economic cooperation where Saudi Arabia implicitly agreed to price its oil in dollars and invested surplus revenues in U.S. assets in exchange for military aid and security guarantees. Saudi don't need the U.S. dollar as it's weakening 96% over 125 years. So since there was no real formal agreement, and it was just a good exchange, a good faith exchange, last year Saudi was like, nah. Not that they outright said no, but they started doing business in different options as BRICS got more influence. So you got a weakening dollar. You got a country that you get your oil from. That's the United Arab Emirates are building a whole fucking world. They're manufacturing. Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Man, they making all kind of shit over there. They're positioning themselves as the world center and hub. That's what Dubai is. So now you got those European nations and African nations working together, ignoring the US dollar. United States hasn't manufactured anything. You're dependent on oil. A lot of your leftist extreme environmentalists have been talking about, no, don't drill for new oil. Then certain people on the right are going, drill, baby, drill. Then you got Venezuela right here with the biggest oil reserves in the world. As your dollar is weakening, as you could lean on the Monroe Doctrine, as China, Russia are doing, they're not colonizing, but they economically empowering themselves from South American nations. This is the state that your nation is in Do you say, fuck that, go get main man, kidnap him, kidnap his bitch, take their oils, everything got to come through us? Now I say, with all of that information, and you are the person that's responsible for your household, your nation, do you also say, man, I'm taking this shit? I'm okay with violence. If we land there, I'm okay with it. I don't prefer it. And I will not pretend like this is righteous. It's just politics. Or do we expect the vast majority of Americans to go back more to a farming and agrarian and rural lifestyle? Do we really expect that? The stadium in Philly years ago, Lincoln Financial Field, I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago, it cost $500 million to make one stadium in Philly. We got 3 of them, okay? Do I expect the people that spent $500 million 20 some odd years ago to know now how to scale back? Because that's what needs to happen in order for an economy to shrink. When you in the gym and you're trying to lose weight, you have to eat less. Your entire country's fucking greedy, and literally your nation is obese, the vast majority of people. So do we expect the general public to downsize in greed and spending and credit and doing more work and getting back to manufacturing? Do we really think that's going to happen? So when Trump and those guys say we got to get them H1 visas in here because we don't have the people, he's not all the way wrong. We don't. Americans are, tell me where I'm wrong, y'all. Are we not lazy? Do people from other nations come here for the American ideal of opportunity and fucking run circles around us and working? Just tell me what y'all think. I think we can, but I think it's going to be a major adjustment. Most of you motherfuckers won't even go to the gym. So with that being the reality that a head of state is dealing with, what do we lose? People look at us wrong. But if we win and we have a damn near global hegemony again based on authoritarianism and imperialism, because that's what it is. Let's not pretend that's not what it is. We are no longer Leonidas in the 300. We are Xerxes. We Xerxes in the fucking Persian Empire. That's the American Empire. Do you think that the Persian army and the people of Ephiantes and just all of the eating grapes and the wine, if you've seen the movie 300, y'all ain't tell me in the comment section, should I do movie reviews? I want to hear from y'all. Okay? Do you think, which one? Wild Selt says, even if I were cool with the interventions, the United States government does a piss poor job of it and will fuck it up. And I would love to disagree with you, but god damn it, I can't. Oh my God, the United States government in general, man, they'll fuck up a glass of water. Just put ice and water in the cup and bring it to me. They'll turn it into Kool-Aid. Okay? These are the realities that on a geopolitical level, that and the moral dilemmas. Because let's be clear, if we don't secure that, do we think Venezuela's not going to sell oil to Russia? Russia got stronger when their sanctions were imposed on them for taking back Crimea in that Ukraine war. And they said, oh, you aggressed upon whatever. And most people don't even know. Ukraine was already been a part of Russia however long ago. I watched Vladimir Putin recite, freestyle, 500 years of Russian history. So he's down for Mother Russia. He wants that all of them, when the United Socialist Soviet Republic was broken down into all of those different parts, that was all Mother Russia. So we threw a embargo, meaning the international community threw an embargo and restrictions and sanctions on Russia. Their economy got stronger. Why? Because maybe one of the biggest owners of Bitcoin in the world is fucking Vladimir Putin. Maybe they got stronger because they said, all right, cool, we're going to go around America. So we can't ignore the fact that Russia going to get some of that Venezuelan oil if you don't control it. This is what lends some sort of credence to a Andrew Tate saying, take their shit, bruv. Because the question then becomes, okay, what the fuck is Venezuela going to do with it? This is what an inner gangster in me is like, you ain't going to, this is when you see a weak dude with a thick something. And if you're a strong alpha male and I don't like you, now I'm very respectful generally, right? But if you move the wrong way and position your body in a way that I don't like, and you got a thick, beautiful woman, I might feel a little bit more inclined to try to take your woman from you. Just me. Sometimes that evil rises up. You ain't gonna do shit to me. What you gonna do? At best, your woman will be like, absolutely not, I got a man. But you ain't gonna do shit. And if I'm feeling froggy that day, and you gave me a wrong eyebrow, an incorrect fucking curl at the corner of your lip, I might be like, man, I'm taking you, bitch. What you gonna do? I'm from North Philly. It's in me. We all have that human. I mean, unless you just absolutely like not an aggressive person. And I'm not saying that as a diss. And I'm also not saying that it's the most righteous or right way to be when that evil rise up. However, when you're dealing with other monsters that don't struggle with that moral conundrum, there's a story in the Bhagavad Gita that talks about Arjuna is trying to get his focus back, right? And Krishna manifests to tell Arjuna, hey, this is what's going to happen. The enemies of righteousness, which were Arjuna's uncles and family members, the 5 enemies of righteousness or whatever, he was like, listen, they're coming and they don't struggle with this conundrum that you got. Arjuna was struggling with the conundrum of all of my teachings up until this point were about patience and tolerance because they don't know what they're doing. And Krishna told him, yo, that teaching was up until this point. Now you using that teaching so you don't have to do, because you scared. You don't really want to go to fight. The people that's coming to kill you, they have no struggle with that shit. They're coming to kill you. So at a certain point, when you're in a room full of monsters, you gotta be, even a sheepdog. I fancy myself a sheepdog. I'm not a wolf. Wolves eat sheep. I eat wolves. I'm a sheepdog. I help protect the flock. That's who I am as a person. If you bullying people, I'm gonna make a way to bully you. Okay? And I'm gonna defend the sheep. When you're that way and you're looking at the world through this international geopolitical historic lens and looking at how many people will be impacted in your country of America if the US dollar is not the world's global currency, reserve currency anymore. That's a legitimate question that poses a moral conundrum. And now all of those other nations that administrations before you fucked those governments over, they don't want to have to do, they will probably only do business with you if they have to or it's as financial or beneficial. But if as BRICS and all of these other nations and the advent of Bitcoin, not CBDCs, not central bank digital currencies, actual Bitcoin, as these things start to pop off, you lose your holding as the United States. There's an actual video of Trump somewhere. I don't know where he was. And he was like, the dollar has to be the reserve currency. It has to be. It has to be. Because the entire American economy is propped up on it. This fake fiat currency. Let's be clear. Why is that? Because, again, 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's direct convertibility to gold. If you got an old dollar bill before 1971, it says on it, payable to the bearer on demand, $1 in gold or silver. Okay? He took that off of that. He ended the Bretton Woods system. He closed the gold window. That was called the Nixon shock. Transition the world to a fiat currency system. When you're talking about money, money is an actual thing that needs to be backed by something. Okay? Dollars are legal tender notes. If I got $100 worth of gold in the bank, instead of having to carry my gold in coins and like all in a fucking satchel, these little pieces of paper were created as mediums of exchange, so I could get your real money. I say it'll cost you 2 slithers of gold, 2 shekels of gold. And instead of you giving me coins, you give me this thing and you take it to the bank, and the bank gives you that actual money, that actual gold. Okay? And you go put that in your bank. But over time, now it's like, let's just pretend that the dollars are actual money. Dollars, or these legal tender instruments, these debtors notes, these IOUs, is not money. But do they teach you about what actual money is? Absolutely not. So when it takes it off the gold standard, we can just print up willy-nilly, and then we can tie everybody doing business globally to the petrodollar, because everybody's going to get oil, and most people were getting oil from the Saudis, and they got to do business in US dollars. It creates strength and props it up around the petrodollar. But if simultaneously your dollar is weakening, Saudi Arabia is like, we'll take other money too. Then in your backyard, outside of the Monroe Doctrine, other countries that don't have to set up shop in the digital age, they don't have to colonize that city or state. They just start devaluing your dollar and getting money on your corner behind your back, and you won't get no fucking cut. I want to hear from y'all. After tonight's conversation, if you were the current administration, what do you do? This is the reality of what is happening right now. Right now. This ain't like me theorizing. This is what is happening. Most people don't even know what money is. They think the dollar is money. It's not real. It's literally cost more to print it than what, like, you understand? It's your values and your agreement and your belief that makes it a thing. That's why it drops in value so fast, because it's not linked to anything. Let's read why he said it. This is why he said he ended the gold standard. To protect the gold reserves. Growing international doubt about the dollar's value and the U.S.'s ability to back it with gold led to heavy gold withdrawals. Right after that, they defaulted on all of the loans that they owed to other nations. That happened. Yep. Listen to what Benny said. That's why they just stopped printing pennies not long ago. That's why you're not getting pennies no more. It costs more to print the penny than it do to make that, to have the penny. We're just not making them no more. Inflation and trade deficit. The U.S. faced rising inflation, cheap imports, expensive exports, and its first trade deficit in decades, making the fixed exchange rate unsustainable. Bretton Woods system strain. The system required the dollar to be pegged to gold, $35 an ounce, and other currencies pegged to the dollar, but this fixed rate became difficult to maintain. It was difficult to maintain because y'all started outsourcing everything. And greed. This is why Bitcoin is such an amazing thing. There's a fixed, finite amount of Bitcoin. So you're going to be, meaning it's damn near inflation proof. Which means even the thing that you might want to buy, you might not. Because that dollar that you spent in Bitcoin in 2 months might be $5. So you're like, damn. And with you knowing that, you are a little bit more hesitant, which cuts down on greed. Bitcoin has the ability to correct greed in humans. When you have something that's tethered to a thing, not just imaginary shit, people move differently. Everything's not just credit and just giving out whatever. Okay? All of these things that I'm talking about are 1,000% real, guys. 1,000% real. So I ask you all tonight. This is a good question by Aaron, and I just put this on the screen too. No, wait, wild sell, maybe. Oh, deflationary. Okay, yeah. Wild Cell says over time. Y'all tell me what y'all think about this. Wild Cell says over time, Bitcoin becomes deflationary as people lose it. Big Rob says thought they got rid of the penny being symbolic. No. Aaron says, walk us through how the seizing of these oil reserves will be used to stabilize the economy and dollar. Or will it be pocketed by billionaires? Here we go. Now we're getting into the conversation of you want something to get fucked up, let government get involved in it. Just like they did with Doge, the Doge cuts. They identified all of this waste. And it was like, oh man, we found so much waste. Then they printed up an equal more amount of money, fucking it up in a week. Right? Do you see this bringing down inflation? No. And I heard that too. The CIA created Bitcoin allegedly. I heard that too. I know that this maybe to transition us all into a certain type of digital economy, whatever. I can see that. Which is another reason why I'm like, yeah, that's why they crash in the dollar. However, I just want to be positioned properly. In world history, currency has always shifted. One point it was cowrie shells. One time it was cows. One time it was this. One time it was tulips and tulip mania. There's a great story on that in this movie, the Wall Street, the Wolf, not the Wolf of Wall Street. Money Talks Wall Street with Shia LaBeouf was in the second one, but the original one had the other guy, the other actor in it. Anyway. All I'm saying to y'all is I want to be positioned. Solid wealth is about options, right? I can have no money, but have an amazing home and a farm that could grow food on it and a skill set of 4 or 5 people in the community that can fix anything that goes wrong, roof, carpentry, electrical, plumbing. And we know how to grow stuff from the ground and solve our food, clothing, and shelter. I wouldn't need money in that. Because I'm positioned properly. Because resources are not only tied to fiat currency. Okay? It's not tied to that. So I don't want y'all to only think in fiat currency terms. I also don't want you to think only in Bitcoin terms. Because Satoshi, I'm like, that shit is too genius for me to be just one person. That's my view. But that's my view. Okay? Right. And that's where Benny comes. That's where I'm. It doesn't matter who created Bitcoin. Its ethos and the tech holds more water than the actual creator. And I agree with that. That's like me saying, yo, well, Wild Cell brings up a good point. But before I go to that, to Benny's point, that's like me saying, yo, gunpowder was created to destroy shit. All right, maybe. I got guns and gunpowder, though. So now what? Right? Wild Cell says, until you have to pay your property taxes. Aha! This is where people being organized, human resources is another resource, to organize and say, we don't want property taxes in our state anymore. These are all different types of wealth and options. All right? These are all sharp things that we got to sharpen ourselves with. Okay? But I want to be very clear as we wrap up tonight, guys. This is street shit on an international level. Do not be fooled to think it's anything other than that. You should ask yourself, based on tonight's show, I want everybody to save it. It's on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. YouTube.com/Maj2Ray. Play it in the background again. There was a lot of information. If you guys have any questions about anything that I went over tonight, shoot me a DM on X. Shoot me a DM. My DMs are open. Shoot me an email, Maj2Ray@Solutionary University, or join our newsletter. Bookworm, if you can, throw that up on the in the comment section. Join our newsletter. Everybody in here should be in our newsletter, so we can communicate and make sure that you guys are getting all of this type of information. But my point is, if you got any questions about tonight, if you got any, this stuff is what we got to do to then evaluate. And I'll ask everybody landing here. Do you think that if you were similarly positioned as the current United States government, I want to hear from everybody in the comments, would you have taken Venezuela's oil? Gangster shit. It is. Would you have done it? Okay. There is I'll put it on the screen, but if you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the comment section. That's where you can click that link and sign up for the newsletter. Everybody in here should be in the newsletter. All right. Big Rob says, the Know Your Rights, is that a part of the original 3 classes? Yes. If you're already in Solutionary University, you have access to the Know Your Rights class. The Stop the Bleed class will be finished again and up no later than the next few days. If you are grandfathered in to Solutionary University and the Solutionary 9. Now, let me say this real quick. I told y'all for months, it was $99, and you get access to the classes that's there and the upcoming classes at Solutionary University. Enrollment to Solutionary 9 will be back open on February the 1st. It is not $99 anymore. If you got in at $99, we added a lot of shit. A lot more me helping you, working with you, me staying on you, helping you meet your fitness goals, your shooting goals, a lot of that. If you grandfathered in at $99, you good. Enrollment opens again. It'll be open for 1 week, February the 1st. If you join the newsletter, you can get updates, or you can go to Solutionary University. If you're interested in that, you can shoot me a DM too. We are only taking a certain amount. I can only see, we'll probably do 99 people for this enrollment. You will get access to all of the classes, all of the future classes, okay? We come up with a 99-day program to get you smarter, sharper, and a better shooter and in better shape. The enrollment for that will be open. You should join that wait list. Okay? Life Lesson said, FYI, I just signed up 30 days ago for Solutionary 9 when it was still $99. I don't know if it's still it's not still $99. I promise you. You can't, maybe there's a glitch in the matrix and you got through. Who knows? After January the 1st, you can't get in all of the classes at once for $99, meaning Solutionary 9. You can buy classes. You can get a class over at Solutionary University. Okay? 30 seconds ago, that's what that means? No, you didn't. I would have got an email. Stop lying, Life Lessons. Cut it out. You didn't. I would have got an email from you, bro. You didn't. Stop trying to cap. No, you didn't, Life Lessons. Cut it out. Matter of fact, let me go look real quick before I wrap up tonight's show. Let me look. Let me see if you capping. Let me see. You probably capping, but I don't know how. Maybe you did some sneak shit. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to look on the site right now. What's today's date? Oh, you sure did. I don't know how you got in. You did. Your first name, just give me a thumbs up if your first name starts with A. I don't know how you did that. You're the CIA. You're the CIA. You the feds. And you got a proton mail? Oh, you definitely the feds. Oh, man. I don't know how you did it. Y'all go ask him or whatever. However he did it. Let's just keep it up till midnight. I don't know how you did that. I have no idea. Somehow I made a mistake. That was me. Y'all better go sneak and do it. If not, he snuck in and announced it. See, he wasn't gatekeeping. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Life Lessons. He snuck in and announced it. I'm not mad at you for that. It's however you came across that mistake. I'm telling y'all right now, Bookworm is handling the back end. Superweapon says update the back end payment processor. I'm not a techie, okay? I'm not a techie, but I'm solid. That's a solid move for Life Lessons to get into the matrix, crack the code, and let everybody else in. So however y'all figure out how to get over there and get it for $99, go do it now. Because I promise you, Bookworm that handles the back end, I promise you right now, Bookworm is trying to figure out a way to shut that shit down. I bet you. You better go get it. I'm telling you. To the question though, those classes, if you got in at $99, even the new classes, including Jason Basler's class from the Free Thought Project, yes, you're grandfathered in. When the new enrollment shows up, when that new enrollment shows up, and we get the amount of people that we're able to successfully handle, because it's not about selling y'all a program. It's about how many people can I work with every single day? Okay? How many people can I do that with? Rob, shoot me an email and I'll figure it out. I don't know what happened. Something's up, but I'll make sure you get in. And anybody that's in, or one of y'all gonna go do it tonight for $99 before Bookworm figures it out and closes it, I'm not gonna do it. Bookworm just says try to access it again. Try it now. However, any of y'all that's gonna get in for $99 or whatever before the enrollment, February the 1st, yes, you will get access to all of the classes. Right, exactly. You heard what Albie Fresh said. Photon mail is definitely intelligence grade. I'm telling you. Yeah, you're someone's sneaky life lessons, but nonetheless, I don't care. If somebody got in, this is of service. I want to be very clear what the Solutionary 9 is. I work for y'all. I give y'all information on the show. I break things down. I communicate effectively. I work for y'all. If life lessons showed, hey, Maj, you messed up somewhere, people can get in for $99 still. Cool, go get it. What I'm never going to do is only make this about money. The reason why the pricing has changed for the Solutionary 9 in February, is because we added more and I'm more hands-on with every single person, okay? Your shooting goals, your fitness goals, all of those different things, all right? So saying that to say, if y'all want to go over there and get in for $99, you can. All of the previous classes or all of that stuff coming in will 1,000% be available to you as well. Guys, this is gangster shit. This is not humanitarian efforts. This is not respecting for the people of Venezuela. You should read Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You should read Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. This is coup central. The CIA and world governments have been involved in this for a bajillion years. Okay? You need to search your own soul to see where you stand morally with this. And there's nothing wrong with you if you say, morally, I am in opposition to this, even though that I know that this may put Americans in a better economic position for a while. And I have to say a while because I don't trust government to get a gain and keep it as a gain. I don't expect them to operate in a surplus. I think that they figure out ways to be wasteful. Okay? That's what I think. And so I want us to search our souls about that. Do I think this is a strategic move that could secure the United States of America for generations to come as it relates to economy and give us a little bit more breathing room and less dependence on Saudi or European or Arab oil? Absolutely. Do I still think that that's morally correct? No. But does it have to be moral correct? When you look at politics, nothing in that definition or those two definitions of politics mention the word moral. Might creates right a lot of times. Where we have to be very clear on is calling that what it is and calling out the politicians that'll try to trick you into thinking it's us doing the Lord's work. No, it's not. Okay? Anyway, guys, thank you all for tapping in tonight. I'll see you guys next week, same time, same channel, youtube.com/Maj2Ray. Please share the space all over the place. And sneak in, solutionaryuniversity.org. Big Bookworm, I promise you, is trying to figure out how to close that shit right now. Sneak in before you get it gets closed. Or donate at givesendgo.com/solutionary. Donate $20 if you got some value from the show tonight. Donate. Givesendgo.com/solutionary. You are still paying it forward for other people with your donations to take firearms basics classes digitally. They get the curriculums, they get all of that stuff. We have to make sure that we are empowering people, transforming their lives, informing them, and giving them the strength and the wherewithal to empower themselves, their family, their communities, and ultimately our country. That's how we actually make America great again, but we cannot do it if we're not working together. Solutionaryuniversity.org, take some classes, sneak into the Solutionary 9 for $99, or sign up for the new enrollment over at the same website, solutionaryuniversity.org, or donate at givesendgo.com/solutionary. Thank you all for tapping in. See y'all in a bit, and I'll holler at everybody in my DMs that are in there after tonight's show. Be safe, be solutionary.